die. However, not only did the Might Queen survive and grow up, she became a local demigod. Yeah. Alright, mommy. Let's fight. You'll become its new bride. So, this is the Might Queen. Very unfortunate that this hand happened turn 1, but... How do you work again? Upon receiving fatal damage, restores 30 HP for every parasite.
A bloodbath.
As long as she has allies on the battlefield, the Might Queen only takes half damage, and when severely wounded, changes intention to injection. Okay. So ideally, we kill her little shite bags, is what I'm understanding. Also, very unfortunate.
The means don't matter.
We did not draw any game connection cards. Where are they? Here we go. I'm just gonna take the will to live here.
You've acquired a taste for buffs.
I don't really want to lose all connection, to be honest. I don't like those. If you upgrade one of them, you lose a half connection instead of all of it. Still. This one's okay. I'm down to reduce 2 connection. You'll pay for this, will I? I don't know. I'm feeling pretty confident. Man, the Crimson set is good, isn't it? I kind of just half-heartedly picked those up, but they're actually putting in a lot of work here. Why are you dealing 0? Ah, okay. She wasn't dealing 0? It was a lie? A deception? Upon playing attacks, draw exhausts. Surprise! Okay. Increase max health. Heal. Look at that. What a beautiful combination. And the ward will protect Tulip now. It ate all of it for some reason.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
GG.
We have not yet decided how exactly we will draw players' attention to events where some action is required, or the event has developed. But we are thinking about either an icon for the corresponding event, or an entry in the event log. We also polished up the events in the glossary. We have added the ability to view different event art. We also grouped events of the same type, a merchant, a chest.
In Text Diaries, we said that we want our character to learn not only in events and change his relations, change his choices, receive any additional options, but also in relations and battles. That is, when the same Percival killed wolves many times, he already simply knows how to fight them, how they will rush at him, and accordingly, he should receive some kind of preferences for this. Bonuses to strength, maybe additional cards, some buffs, debuffs on enemies, and so on. That is in such a way that we show that the character learns during the game. And our next step will be skipping the battle. If you've played this fight many times, you can simply skip it if you don't need to fight any further. This is also in the format of quickly mastering events, so that each time you don't have to go somewhere for a very long time if you want to see some kind of development of the event, so that you don't have to kill 10 mobs for this, which would delay the gameplay.
Now, have you never seen Bjorn before? Best Boy Bjorn is unlike most characters in roguelike deck builders because he does not have energy, or mana, or crystals, or whatever you want to call it. He uses his health to deal his cards, and that's part of what makes him so powerful. If you can find a way to reliably heal, you can just kind of draw ad infinitum.
They washed with their own
Well, that's gonna hurt.
Their
But the
death
downside
bring you closer to your goal.
to Stray is that the Stray Bjorn doesn't actually have a whole lot of built-in healing. The best way is through Drink Blood.
In the developer diaries, there were glimpses of enemies and events that are currently before the game's release, as we collected questions in advance, not in the game. For example, the elven girl in the swamps. Will all of this be in the release?
I remember this question from you, Altair, when we were collecting questions. You found examples of interesting villains not currently in the game. The thing is, when we published developer diaries, we also published things that were included in the DLC, since the DLC and the main game are closely linked. When we created some content, we did it for the DLC right away. So some things are already present at release, and you can play and see them. However, some are only in the DLC. For example, the event with the Elven Girl, Isha, will be fully in the DLC and can only be seen there.
Next question. Will your policy towards development and player involvement change in case of success?
I am in favor of involving players more in the development process. Of course, there are sometimes conflicting ideas when someone comes to us with their own style and desires that don't align with ours at all. I believe the modern development approach is to take a lot of great ideas from players and act as a filter to choose what can be integrated. It's like saying, let's add shooting elements to a card roguelike and throw cards at targets. And if you hit the target, the card plays. It might sound crazy, but we could even try it out and see if it's a good idea or not. What seems like a crazy idea might turn out to be brilliant. Those who have already played through the game might be surprised by some things they see at the end. So, on the contrary, we will remain open to incorporating player feedback into what we do and always listen closely. Undoubtedly, as we consider ourselves specialists now, we can understand what will work and what won't. At the beginning of development, we were just players who wanted to try out ideas and thought some things would be cool. And now, we see the consequences. For instance, we ended up with lots buffs, many of which we thankfully removed from the game because it was too overloaded. Remember the first interface where you had 6 columns with things like evasion, strength, agility, and many other attributes that didn't even fit on the screen? We've now streamlined it. If you notice, all these parameters now fit much better, with rarely more than 2 columns of buffs. In most parts of the game, parameters on you, some were hidden, some removed. It was a mistake to introduce so many different effects for each character, especially when they carried over to each other, mixing agility, spirit, and other connections, making it hard to comprehend. We were also those players who wanted more and cooler things. Now, as game designers, we understand that more and cooler can overwhelm players. You need to deliver it properly, either in portions or using other tools. Therefore, we welcome player feedback and participation in our future games. We will strive to respond constructively, explain why something can or cannot be done, and show the results of our efforts.
Do you plan to release DLC? Yes, that's true. Will it come out soon, or should we expect it next year?
The release of DLC entirely depends on the success of the current game. If we have good sales, we'll be able to continue making DLC with the same team, and it could come out by December, for example. If there are any issues, the DLC will be released next year in the first half.
Oh, another pressing question. I'll ask this on behalf of the entire community. Many are eagerly awaiting Russian voice acting. Do you plan to add this soon?
The issue with voice acting is always cost-related. Good voice acting costs twice as much. We only had funds for one voice acting, and we chose English because it's an international language. You can judge the quality of the character and trailer voice acting yourself. They're done by very good actors, and we're pleased to have worked with them. If we have the funds for Russian voice acting, they will definitely be added, along with other languages, including Chinese. But as of now, there are no plans. because we explored options that offered cheap solutions but resulted in low quality, which didn't satisfy us. Therefore, we decided it's better to earn money first and then add them.
And let's ask one final question directly to the developers. Will we be on VK Play?
Absolutely, as soon as possible.
Yes, and another question, quite popular by the way. Will there be any porting, especially to mobile devices?
Our game plays wonderfully on mobile devices. We tested it on a Windows Nexus tablet, that's what it was called, which is basically a laptop in tablet form with a touchscreen. I remember catching myself spending 3 hours lying on the couch playing cards. I should have gotten up and done something else, but it was so engaging and cool. So I think the game is perfect for mobile or tablet play, and that's definitely in our plans.
All right, so the questions from our community have come to an end. Before we move on to the questions for our guests, we want to ask if you have any questions for us.
Yes, definitely. Andre, I'd like to know if there will be support for Steam Deck and if it's already available. The second question is whether Steam Workshop will be supported. Are you planning to integrate this feature into the game? Or is this something planned for later, after the DLC release?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a Steam Deck player myself, so I find it a bit inconvenient to play our game on the Steam Deck. When we were at an exhibition, I saw a guy playing using the side touchscreens, and it was cool. He played very efficiently, and I thought, oh, that's possible. But since our game was not initially designed for Steam Deck, because it wasn't around then, and we didn't consider gamepad support, we have an older version of Unity. We didn't use the built-in tool for gamepad integration, so we can't currently support Steam Deck because we lack gamepad integration. We really wanted to implement gamepad integration by the release, but we postponed it because it's quite challenging. The interface isn't designed for gamepad control, so using it like a mouse isn't very convenient. We have found a solution, but it's very labor-intensive. It would take about a month and a half, maybe around a month, to rework a lot of things to integrate the gamepad properly. So, yes, we very much want to integrate with Steam Deck, but it will come later. Maybe even before the DLC, because the DLC is mostly ready programmatically, with only some game design work and a bit of art left. If the programmers manage to fix all the bugs, they'll have time to work on various integrations, porting to PlayStation and other devices. So I hope we can make a Steam Deck version before the DLC is released. Regarding the Steam Workshop and the workshop, we didn't initially plan for this because it requires special development to use it. If successful, I think we'll simply release it additionally. Our next games will definitely be made with an editor right away, with the possibility for other users to do whatever they want with it, because it just adds the opportunity for them to implement what they want. But in this case, we haven't laid the groundwork for it, and it's a very costly amount of work, so we haven't implemented it yet. But we'd really like to, undoubtedly.
Since you want to create more games in the same universe, if Knock on the Coffin lid, our beloved Coffin, is successful, will it somehow appear in future games, perhaps as Easter eggs, game characters, or notes?
In fact, we've had many ideas about this topic, about Easter eggs and integration. Especially those who complete the DLC and get to know Mortis better will understand that we'll see Mortis many more times in different places, depending on whether we continue making games or not. So undoubtedly, you can already find Easter eggs in the game. I think, as experienced players, you already remember that unnamed item in the very interesting porcelain, no, what's it called? Not porcelain, but
Faience.
Right, the faience item that Batu has somewhere nearby. We added this so that players would question how it ended up there. And these things are clearly not from this universe, so to speak. And these are references to our future projects that we have planned. But I won't spoil it. That's closer to the next projects.
I saw a lonely child who was amusing himself by juggling some objects. He did it masterfully, but it was strange that, with such skill, he had not gathered a crowd of children around him, so I decided to come closer to him. He noticed me and waved at me affably. At that moment, I noticed that he was not using his hands for juggling. The things were simply spinning around in the air in front of him. I was stunned, and he just grinned, still looking at me, and offered to play a game. The point of the game was that I could choose a gift, but could not leave without one. It sounded pretty good, so I did not object. After that, he asked me to pick from one of his toys. The small ball. At the start of the turn, draw 10. Use the cards to remove the small ball effect. At the end of the turn, lose 15 HP per each small ball effect. Basically, I have to play every card in hand. These are all cursed objects, but they're pretty good if you can make them happen. But anyway, this event's also great now because you can just pick any of them and then sacrifice them.
Were there any personal stories that you decided to add to the game and did add?
Once in my childhood, I washed up in a puddle. That can somehow be linked to our puddle event, but...
So that's where it comes from.
You didn't drink from them, did you? Just washed up. No, but our event 3 Graves is based on real life. It's a story in the game's realities, but it's also a complete story from real life. And so, we tried, as the disclaimers say, that all coincidences are random. There are no connections with real life. So maybe just one event, I guess. If the others encountered or intersected somewhere, I think it's more of a coincidence.
Is it true that when creating Bjorn, you were inspired by Lycan from Dota?
I'll answer seriously. Bjorn was invented by the game designer. Well, he commissioned me to make this character. Maybe he was inspired by Lycan from Dota. But when I was scripting Bjorn, I definitely wasn't inspired by Lycan from Dota.
Well, I think what we were inspired by is quite noticeable. It's not hidden. So you can look at the father and son event, the same crazy alchemist. Bjorn was still conceived as an antagonist in his own way, an anti-hero to some extent, although you can certainly play him as a hero. So we needed to give him some charm of an anarchist, this elf anarchist, a bit crazy. So I think the writers didn't really take him from anywhere. The visual line taken by the artist could have references from somewhere, but I don't think it's directly from Dota.
But I think it's worth adding, as Stas rightly noted earlier, that it's all already kind of been invented before us. Elf, not uniqueness. Lycan, not uniqueness. Blue skin color, not uniqueness. Quite a tough character. That's not uniqueness either. Such characters exist everywhere. All these things are used everywhere. Well, we just combined everything. Added him fury, cruelty, and a bit of a nasty character.
We're already looking good. Great. This will be fun, I'm sure.
Dwarves consider themselves the masters of the frontier, but for everyone else, they are treacherous invaders.
It's true. Thankfully, this worked out pretty well. I am exposed, which is very unfortunate. And I drew all attacks. So that's something.
No matter how many times you win, it feels like the first time, every time.
Not exactly Mortis, but that's okay. Cool. So we're gaining strength through Notch, we're gaining strength through our passive. The evasion does 8 an attack for us, which is all well and good. This is going, I think we're up to a good start. That's 35 damage to the face. He gained Fury, but I think this will disappear at the end of the turn. I hope so, anyway. It's only certain units that keep their Fury. I think we're about to scale out of control.
Paral, Bjorn and Vanadis are undergoing final processing before they release animations. Bjorn has already secured some of them. Percival has mastered the double shield. He wields it no worse than these guys from Dark Souls, but due to climatic conditions he decided not to take off his pants. Many of the enemies are also getting new animations. Our main opponent Sigismund is ready to show himself in all his glory, both in human and in demonic form. The cultists in the swamp are also doing quite well. This one learned how to handle a lamp very skillfully. We finally updated the way karma is displayed in the game. The update is already available. The snakes turned out to be very assertive and menacing. We are not supposed to choose favorites or pick sides, but as for you, which snake would you root for? Special cards are also being prepared for the game. You may have guessed the purpose of some of them, but what about this? Share your guesses in the comments. It might seem that you are on the set of the Avengers, but actually it's our programmers working on the final battle.
Now, Percival has one of the mechanics that I've always really liked, and that is called adaptive, where basically, if you upgrade an adaptive card, I might as well show you. Oh, well, first let's get Notch upgraded. This will give me 1 strength and the upgrade turns into not a burn card, so I can just infinitely scale strength as we continue to cycle through the deck. But, basically, if we upgrade an adaptive card, we make it so that we can choose how it adapts, how it upgrades. And, Hanshao Guard's a pretty good one. Draw's also a good one. Flourishing Lunge is also pretty strong if we go into like a full lunge build. Which we sometimes do. I'm not against it. That seems pretty good though. This also seems pretty good. We'll be defensive, it's fine.
Because if we didn't succeed and we didn't hit it and no one will play the game, then most likely there will be no support at all. So if the game is a success, not only do we like it, and there is good feedback from the audience, and there will be a lot of activity, then, of course, we have big plans, including the addition of a full-fledged DLC. Well, it's already potentially cool, and then we'll see if there is a strong success, then we have more to tell and to show. But in general, we would probably add more with some modes, some modifiers, some new formats. The story itself will most likely not continue, because the DLC Millenni's Nightmares ends it.
Draw their attention while I kill the general. So, I don't remember this fight very well. Death of this character inflicts weakness on his allies. Successful attacks of this character increases his allies' strength. Okay. I don't think anything here taunts. If there's any concern... That was a skill. It's this guy. And I think he has... No. I think he used to have that thing where if he gained Fury, he would permanently gain Fury. Okay, looks like I don't have to summon my boy yet. Ooh, I wouldn't mind crushing here, actually. Oh. Wait, what? You're taunted? Hmm. Interesting. Do this first, just in case. I got strength. I drew cards, though. You're taunted now. Hmm. Where's Crush when you need it, you know? Oh, there it is. Oh, I need to kill that. Hmm. So what I can do... Awkward? I don't have evasion. Knife throw,
Didn't fight
crush,
fair. That's good.
poison, waggy. Okay. Everything's bleeding. That guy's poisoned. Waggy tails out here to take the hits. Life is all according to Keikaku. This fight's pretty easy with Vana just because the pet is taunted, right?
A new blow will be more painful than the previous one.
Although, there is a certain variant of Vana this that may not want their pet to be the tanky bitch.
Everything you do in the game, your choices, it all has consequences. And at the end, after you defeat the final boss, you will see what all your actions and choices led to. And we figured that if we put all the endings together, then if it were a cartoon, it would take about an hour and a half of time.
Now, it is unfortunate losing out on the double strengths, because, well, they're pretty good. Ooh. The dwarves were trying to break down an elven idol and asked me for help. I already knew that any attempt to stop them would definitely end in a fight, but I could not ignore their request either. Why? But how? Should I have pretended to be deaf? That definitely won't work with the dwarves, but there might be a different way to get away from them. We can tell them about the man-eating bear. Now I'm gonna help them. It's funny, the other two characters are pretty eager to pop this down. So this is a special event.
No means defenseless.
Thank you. This is a special event where you can choose to obviously stop, help the idol, break the idol, do what you want. However, okay, so the knee strike does not count as an attack for them. We have the help of some Dowie. And as they are Dowie, if we play two attacks of the same two cards at the same time in a row, they'll gain Fury, which they of course use on the bear and not on me. So that's pretty neat. Also, the bear doesn't attack me, so... Well, he's dead.
Will sets be adjusted for ranged archer? A fan of Venatus asked us a question here.
Yes, naturally.